Stocks close higher on Wall Street as oil prices drop and optimism continues over the Fed's ability to stick to a soft landing for the economy. Asian markets open higher while the gift Nifty is also suggesting a higher start for the Indian market. Crude prices slump over 4%. Brent falls to about $77 a barrel as the geopolitics-led rally pauses. Gold slips for the fifth straight session as hopes of aggressive rate cuts by the Fed fade. The RBI will announce its policy decision later today. A CNBC TV 18 poll suggests rates are largely expected to be kept unchanged, while a change of stance may be on the cards. Inflation and growth estimates are expected to be retained. Hyundai Motor India fixes the price band for its IPO at 1865 to 1960 rupees a share. At the upper end of the price band, the 27,870 crore rupee IPO issue will be the largest in India, surpassing that of LIC, which was about 21,000 crore rupees. Speaking on the show cause notice to Ola, Consumer Affairs Secretary Nidhi Khare tells CNBC TV 18 that the National Consumer Helpline received over 10,000 complaints against Ola Electric in the last 1 year. Also reveals that the company showed little interest in resolving issues which include service deficiencies, misleading claims, and unfair trade practices. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines. The big event, of course, is the RBI policy outcome today. But first up, as always, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. Now, remember, it was a strong handover that we got from Wall Street. And after that, it is a decent-looking screen for the Asian markets as well. Hang Seng, remember, saw its worst day in almost 16 years yesterday. So there's some rebound today. It was down almost 10%, that particular index. So it's a 2% gain that we're seeing today on that one. Taiwanese index is up around 0.8%. We have Nikkei also, which is in the green, 0.8% higher there. But it's the Shanghai markets which has come in for some pressure, a lot of commentary, and that is something that is not fueling the rally that we've been seeing in the Chinese markets. That index is down 2.5%. The gift Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen because that one is indicating the start for our own markets could be flattish to mild green. After that stellar rally that we saw yesterday, there could be maybe another day in the green for Indian markets as well. And in the US markets, Wall Street ended higher, coming off a strong session for the major averages as tech stocks outperformed and oil prices eased off their highs. Dow Jones gained 126 points, the S&P rose nearly 1%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq rallied about 1.5%. These moves seem to reflect the growing optimism that the Federal Reserve can navigate a soft landing, especially after last week's jobs report showed continued strength in the labor market. Investors are now awaiting the latest meeting minutes from the Fed due today. The September Consumer Price Index reading is due on Thursday and Producer Price Index reading is due on Friday. And it's time to listen into Brian Weinstein of Morgan Stanley Investment Management and Rick Reeder of BlackRock on the U.S. economy and the Federal Reserve.
Rates have kind of found their bottom. They're ahead of where they should be. If the 2-10s curve is going to end up at 150 or 200 basis points as per normal, and neutral is somewhere between 3 and 4, when you get 10s down towards 360, it's hard to rally them more. And I think what's really interesting is moving credit spreads. So we backed up a quick 30 basis points, and credit spreads didn't widen. So there's demand for fixed income. There's demand for risk. That is good. It's good for the Fed. It means they can now ease a bit more slowly. I think you'll see tighter credit spreads. I think you will see higher rates, maybe meaningfully higher rates, but it's going to take a little while to work through the demand for fixed income.
I still think now creating income is super attractive. And I heard Steve talk about it. I mean, if we're running 2% inflation-ish, you know, you can create yields in some of these income-producing assets at 6% plus. You know, so our ETF, this Bink ETF, we create 6% plus. And by the way, I think this is more about income than it is interest rates. I don't think anybody's going to make any money in interest rates. The 10-year at 4%, you know, I think it was on the show last time, it was 375. You know, you got stronger data. We back up to 4. You know, let's see what the CPI report is. I don't think anybody's going to make any money in pure interest rates. I think it's income, and then part of why equities gets money is you say, gosh, if I keep income, I'll keep some money in cash, and then I'll ride some of this, particularly in tech. And that's been a pretty good formulation. It's pretty hard fighting that. And I think that, by the way, I don't think that's the wrong disposition today.
Okay, that is some expert opinion coming in. It's time to get to the final update on our global market wrap this morning. The European market ended Tuesday's trading session lower. The French CAC ended 54 points lower, while the German DAX ended 37 points in the red. The British FTSE was the day's worst performer, shedding 113 points. The Pan-European Stock 600 also closed 0.5% lower in trade. All right, that's all about the global market action and opinion as well. But how will overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in to tell you just that, what the trade setup is looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hi guys, a very good morning to all of you. Let me go across to Winnie first up. She's joining in with all the market cues that we need to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Winnie.
Good morning. So yes, keeping an eye out on the market session today, because finally yesterday Nifty, closed above the 25,000 mark again, snapped its 6-day losing streak. So it's going to be interesting how we are shaping up for the day today. Now, yesterday what aided the market was in terms of global cues. We had those state elections from Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana, and the BJP's better than expected performance in Haryana was something that gave a boost to some of the stocks as well. Now, top Nifty gainers yesterday we saw was Trent, BEL among the top names that were performing, and other than that we had Adani Group stocks which had been buzzing in trade. This trading session before that they were marred in trade and that's seen a decline. Now Adani Group stocks again were among the top gainers in the Nifty 50. So yes, Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports both saw a strong performance. Yesterday we saw metals that saw a bit of a decline coming in. Nifty Metal Index was the only index that actually closed in the red today, down almost 1%, and this was mainly due to the underwhelming Chinese stimulus that one was watching out for. We were expecting better stimulus and better announcements on that front, but it was quite underwhelming, and that kept the metal stocks under pressure. What are we watching out for today? Bit of a positive cue that came in from the US market, so keep an eye on that. Though West Asia tensions, that is continuing, so if any impact on that front, that's a close watch for the days and the next couple of days as well. RBI's MPC outcome, that's a key to watch out for from the domestic front, so keep an eye out on that. And in the global front, we do have the minutes of the FOMC, so that is what we're keeping an eye out on. Gift Nifty, as of now, indicating a bit of a muted to a slight bit of a positive start.
Okay, all right. So positive cues from global markets, Gift Nifty indicating a positive start. We'll see which way things go for our markets today. Let's talk about the F&O space now. Mangnam is joining in with all the cues from there. Good morning, Mangnam.
Good morning. So, like you look at the market setup as well. Yesterday, from oversold levels, we did see a bit of a relief rally. A lot of factors that Winnie pointed out as well led to this up movement. We'd spoken about the positioning, which did suggest that there could be a bit of a bounce as well. But now we have to look at the RBI policy as well as the Nifty Bank options expiry. That would be important triggers to track in today's trading session. The good part is that the FII selling is abating a little bit. From an average of almost 10,000 crores on a daily basis, if you look at the FII selling in the cash market, that came into around just 5,730 yesterday. The DIIs outbought the FII selling for the second day in a row. So yesterday, the domestic institutional investors bought about 7,000 crores. So for the last two trading sessions, the net institutional flows in the cash market have been positive. The FIIs have been selling in index futures, lock, stock and barrel, and they continue to do that. But here as well, they are reaching oversold levels. Why do I say that? Because, they sold about 2,500 crores in yesterday's session as well, unwound around 14,000 longs, added about 26,000 shorts, and the HNIs are buying all the FII selling. So if you look at the FII exposure now, it's at 75,000 negative contracts, and the long exposure has dropped to 43%, telling you that the shorts are 57%. On the other hand, the clients, which are the HNIs, have 1.4 lakh net long exposures as well as 59% long exposure, telling you that their shorts have come down from 63% to 41%, whereas FII shorts have come up from 20% to about 57% as well. Now that the market has crossed important levels yesterday, 25,000 on the Nifty, let's watch out for whether we can cross the 50-day moving average and sustain above that. Then we can make a dash towards the 20-day moving average, which is 25,500. For the Nifty Bank itself, 51,543 is the 50-day moving average, which will be the first port of call on the way up. And then we'll have to look at the 20-day moving average as well. Option writers have written the 25,000 straddle, which is the 25,000 call and the 25,000 put, for a combined premium of close to around 300 rupees. The put call ratio too has recovered from lower levels of 0.67 to closer to 0.74, and the option writers expect a broader range of 24,700 at the lower level, which is also day before yesterday's low, and 25,300 on the upper level as well. One stock I'm watching out for is SAIL. It's entered F&O ban.
All right, so we'll be watching out for all those F&O cues. Thank you so much, Mangnam, for that. It's time to talk about the stocks that will be on our radar today. Vamakshi is joining in now. Good morning, Vamakshi.
Well, good morning, Sonal. Let me first start off with IRB Infra. September toll collections were up nearly 19.2%. Signature Global is the next one in focus. Pre-sales saw a massive jump of 184% on a YOY basis, but is down 11% sequentially. Collections were up nearly 28%, but down nearly 24% sequentially. Phoenix Mills consumption, that is the retailer sales, were up nearly 25%. The weighted average trading occupancy across major malls stood at 92%. Senco Gold reported a retail growth of up to 27% YOY. SSG growth came in at 20%, which is much better than 4% as seen in the first quarter. Stud ratio also improved to 11.1%. Dr. Reddy's is the next one I'm watching out for. Its arm Origin Oncology has announced promising results from its first clinical trial of ribricaptogene autoleucel. This trial is significant. It's the first in India to test a new type of CAR T cell therapy for multiple myeloma, which is a form of blood cancer. Torrent Power has received 2 LOA from Maharashtra State Electricity Distribution Company. This is for supply of 2,000 megawatt energy storage capacity, and the annual revenue from this order could be at 1,680 odd crores. Nuvama Wealth Management, SEBI, has issued an administrative warning in connection with inspection carried out for merchant banking activities. IRFC will be financing up to 700 crores under finance lease for 20 BOBR rakes procured under a general purpose wagon investment scheme of Ministry of Railways. Bharti Airtel has also issued clarification on reports that the company is in talks with Tata Group to buy Tata Play. They say that the company itself via its arm has evaluated various opportunities from time to time, but there is no material disclosure at this point of time.
Okay, all right. So those are some interesting stocks that will be on our radar today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. We'll slip into a break. Up next, we get to the key expectations from the RBI monetary policy decision that is due today at 10 a.m. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Well, the big event today, the RBI's Monetary Policy Committee will announce its policy decision today. A CNBC TV 18 poll shows that the street is expecting no change in rates, but a small chance for a shift in stance to neutral that may be on the cards. Ritu brings us the key findings of this poll.
Steep rate cuts by major central banks, rising geopolitical tensions and a revamped MPC. It is going to be an interesting backdrop to this policy meeting. Now, we first asked respondents if the recent rate cuts by the US Fed and China are going to influence the MPC's decision, and a solid 80% said no, expecting the RBI to stay focused on domestic factors. As for the RBI governor's tone, 40% are expecting a dovish tilt, but the majority, 60%, still says the tone will be absolutely even, with no clear signal of a policy pivot just yet. What also makes this particular policy more exciting is that it is probably the first meeting of the MPC this year where at least a part of the financial markets are expecting a change in stance, and a very small number even a rate cut. Now, half the respondents are expecting the MPC to shift the stance to neutral in October, while 30% expect it to be retained at withdrawal of accommodation. As for the timing of the stance change, while 50% say it will happen now, the rest of them are forecasting a shift only by December or perhaps even later. On rate cuts, 10% are expecting a 25 basis point cut this time around, but the larger majority sees a status quo because they say the MPC will remain cautious because of food inflation risks. Now, most economists believe the window for a rate cut will open only by December or perhaps even later. On the total quantum of cuts in this entire cycle, 50% see room for a 50 basis point cut, while the remainder are divided between 60 to 100 basis points. Inflation is expected to dominate the governor's address, with 80% saying that the CPI forecast is likely to be left unchanged at 4.5%, although 20% do foresee a slight cut as inflation in the second quarter is expected to marginally undershoot RBI's own estimate. On growth, the economists are pretty split. Half are expecting the forecast to be left unchanged at 7.2%, while the rest expect a downward revision revision pointing to weaker momentum in the key economic indicators. And lastly, this is the debut meeting for the three new recently appointed external MPC members, Professor Ram Singh, Saugata Bhattacharya and Dr. Nagesh Kumar. And 40% of our respondents believe that the new members are more likely to lean towards maintaining status quo, although some are of the view that there could be one dissenting vote, which should come from Saugata Bhattacharya, citing his recent paper in August making a case for a rate cut. But of course, we'll have to see how the views have evolved since then.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ritu, for getting us those expectations. And of course, you can tune into CNBC TV 18 for all the analysis and real-time updates. Moving on, the CCPA spoke to CNBC TV 18 following the show cause notice they issued to Ola Electric after a wave of complaints came through regarding Ola servicing. Tim C joins us on the phone line with more details. Tim C.
Well, as you rightly mentioned, CCPA chairperson Nidhi Khare, who is also Consumer Affairs Secretary, spoke to me in an exclusive interaction, sharing that over the last 1 year, the National Consumer Helpline was registering complaints against Ola Electric. The complaints were being raised back, escalated back to Ola Electric, but noting that there was very little interest from the company in redressing these consumer complaints. That is when CCPA decided to take a class action decision and send a show cause notice to Ola Electric. Some of the major categories under which these complaints were coming, which were about 10,000 plus over the last 1 year, were charging under the free warranty scheme, also not able to, redress the complaints regarding services, refusal of services at the service stations, also charging and overcharging by the company to the clients, to the consumers, and a lot more. Thus, it is now that the CCPA has sent a notice to Ola Electric. They are still waiting for their response, but crucial to note is that despite being escalated, these complaints, Ola Electric showed very little interest in redressing the complaints. That is when CCPA came into action.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Tim C, for joining in with all those important details. This is an important story. We'll keep tracking that for you very closely. Let's now shift focus to some primary market action. Hyundai Motor India, which will be India's largest IPO to date, has fixed the price band for its public issue between 1865 to 1960 rupees per equity share. At the upper end of the price band, the IPO size will be 27,870 crore rupees, which will surpass LIC's size over 21,000 crore rupees. The 3-day issue will open for subscription on October 15 and close on October 17. All right, with that, we'll slip into a break. Up next, we'll get you more on news and updates on other side. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Let's talk about some political updates. The BJP retained power in Haryana for a third straight term in the state, winning in 48 of 90 seats. The Congress, which was hoping for a resurgence after early trends suggested a positive result, and managed to win 36 seats. In Jammu and Kashmir, the National Conference backed 42 seats out of 90. The BJP won 29 and the Congress won 6 seats. NC's Omar Abdullah is set to be the next Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, all right. With that, let's do one thing. Let's take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that the GIFT Nifty is indicating that the start for our markets could be flattish to positive. It is indicating an implied open in the green of around 12 odd points. That's all we have on Power Breakfast today. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.